Audible to everyone. Just type yes in the chat box if you are able to listen my voice. Okay. Today we are going to discuss a seminar concept on distributed tracing. This is Spring Cloud concept, basics of microservice required. Okay, you need minimum knowledge over microservice, then you will get that. That's a prerequisites. Okay, otherwise this is not suitable for you. Okay, so why we should go for distributed tracing here? We are going to see. Generally, we used to develop monolithic applications before distributed application, that is microservice applications. We used to have monolithic applications. Okay, in the monolithic application, if you deploy the application in the cloud environment, okay, or in a server, if any problem occurs, we can find that in a log file. Okay, everything we can find in a log file. But distributed application, that means microservice is not like that. It's a bit different one. Okay, multiple modules will be running at multiple devices. They're completely isolated, independent. Okay, they will be executed here. Okay, the point is, if you make a request, there could be multiple microservice executed, but we don't know how many are executed. What is the execution order? I want to find out the execution order of those microservices. Okay, I want to know the time of that one. That's the biggest challenge here. So let me explain some problem statement here. Okay, so here, finding execution path and order of execution of microservice components, microservices, is complex. Okay, as they are running at different devices. Okay, they're actually isolated here. Okay, understand? There is a microservice environment I'm just taking. Okay, so this is something like authentication service. Okay, this is user operations service. And here something like here feedback service or order service here like we have. Okay, so this is authentication service, one microservice. We are just taking some user service and order service. Okay, if you want to fetch the data from orders, which user orders we have to mention. If you want to fetch the user data, we need authentication. Consider these are the multiple microservices running in a cloud environment. Okay, so here this is microservice 1. Okay, microservice 2. Okay, microservice 3 here. Okay, they are individual applications. Generally, in case of monolithic, they're actually modules. This is completely one application. In monolithic, these are completely three modules. But coming to microservice design, they're actually individual applications. This is application 1 running in server 1. Okay, this is application 2 and this is application 3. Three applications are running at different locations with different instances actually here. Okay, and they are connected internally here. Now finally, if you make a request from a client device, something like a browser, okay, that made a request to get the order data, end user is trying to request for order data, then the request is first passing to authentication service, then it is actually communicating to user service, then it's actually going to order service, fetching this data, and is actually returning back to browser. Okay, the point here you have to understand. Okay, whenever a request is made, okay, there can be multiple microservices executed. Okay, so whenever we make a simple request, okay, either one or more microservice may be executed here. for one request, multiple microservices may get executed in connected order. Okay, we can also call here chain of microservice in execution. Okay, so that's fine. But here the problem is, okay, so if multiple microservice executed, of course, we know this process here. Okay, we can find, okay, assumption there are multiple microservices actually involved. Lot of microservice involved here. A small application, a monolithic application is there, debugging is easy. But this debug or finding the execution path is not easy here. This is a simple example I have taken, that's fine. But in a complicated example, multiple microservice involved here. Okay. Okay. In case of complex design, finding, okay, execution path, simply we can also call it trace the path. Okay, tracing. That's actually here. How they are actually executed is not easy. Okay, as they are running in different locations and multiple instances. Okay, they actually, in simple terminology, they're actually called isolated components. They actually called in a simple terminology. They will be running at different places, different IP address. Okay, with the multiple instances here. Debugging, okay, our execution path finding is not easy as you think, like monolithic application. Monolithic, everything stays in a single place so that you can find what is happening in a clear way, but it's not easy. Then what we are going to use here, then we are going to use a microservice pattern. Okay, we are going to use a microservice pattern that is actually called distributed tracing. Okay, distributed tracing is a pattern. It's one of the design pattern here. Okay, by using this pattern, okay, what we can do here, okay, we can do, first of all, find execution path of multiple microservices involved in request. Okay, for one request, how many microservices are executed? We can find the execution path. Okay, second thing here, time taken for a particular service here. Time taken for a particular microservice, of course, total time also can calculate here. And there will be multiple log files created. Generally, you can have aggregated log files, individual log files here. One microservice for authentication, one log file for authentication, one log file for user, one log file for order might be created, or common log file also can be created. Mostly individual log files created. Okay, you want to know what are the log files order data printed. Even this actually going to find out here. Okay, helps to find log lines order or log execution here, mainly to find out the execution path. Okay, if a request is made, how many microservice executed, what are they, okay, and what is the order of that one here. If you want to find out here, mainly distributed tracing pattern is involved here. Okay, but to implement this distributed pattern tracing, we need some components. Okay, so those components are given by Spring Cloud. Okay, so distributed pattern is actually a design. We can also, it's called as a theory. Now we need code. Okay, for that we are going to use a Spring Cloud that is actually given two components. One is Sleuth and second one is actually Zipkin. Zipkin again having client and server. Okay, so whenever a request is made, that request is identified using one unique number that is actually called trace ID. Okay, so with the help of trace ID, how many microservices are executed? What is the order that is taken care by sleuth here? Later, this data will be sampled, means collected, and will be shown at UI by a Zipkin. Okay, Zipkin client will collect all, it will sample the data, it will collect the data, and it is going to store it one UI that is called Zipkin server. You can find out all the details here. Now here, let us take one simple requirement, and I'm going to show that how it is going to be. Consider there is microservice one. Microservice one is actually having one log line A, and we have one HTTP call. You can take some REST template or fin client, anything here. So log line B, we have like this. Okay, so this is microservice one. Like we have multiple microservices involved. Okay, some code is available even. Log line C, and again HTTP call we have, and log line B. Some log lines I'm just printing, info, debug, warning, errors like that, and some code is there here, like this we have. Okay, now here end client is actually making a request. For that request, it has come to microservice one. It is executing this log line, and then it is actually next it is making HTTP call. For this HTTP call, it is executing microservice two. Okay, it is actually printing some log line, again making HTTP call. It's actually printing some log lines, execute some logic and come back, then printing log line D, and come back and printing log line B, and finally giving some response. Okay, so here, this is the execution path. But same thing we have to find using our application coding, okay, with the help of Zipkin and Sleuth tools. This execution path can be found by using those tools here. This is microservice 2 and this microservice 3. This is a requirement I'm just taking here. Okay, this one we can find it here. Whenever a request is made, okay, until this response, this complete path details. Okay, so first where it has come, to microservice one, printed this line, second, third, fourth, like that. Complete details are stored in the memory by using one unique number that is actually called a trace ID. A trace ID will store all the details from the request to response. What are the all the execution paths here? One trace ID is generated for one request by Sleuth. Sleuth generates one trace ID from one request to one response. If you identify this trace ID, then you can identify the complete execution path. How many microservices involved? What is the execution order? How much time taken? Okay, so by using this trace ID, you can find out all the details of all the microservice involved in the request to response. Okay, but if you want to find out a particular microservice, like only microservice 2 or only microservice 3 path you want to identify here, then you can have span IDs. Okay, so here trace ID is actually unique for one request to response, where span ID is unique for one microservice execution. For example, if you look at here, I made a single request, 3 microservice executed. Okay, for this single request, trace ID will be 1, but span IDs will be 1, 2, and 3. If fourth microservice also involved, then 4 span IDs will be generated and 1 trace ID will be generated. These are all details will be stored in a temporary memory that is called in-memory. Okay, Sleuth creates an in-memory database here. Okay, that runs in RAM here. Okay, so understand. Sleuth and Zipkin are given by Spring Cloud here. Used to find, used for distributed tracing here. Okay, so first of all, we'll understand why sleuth we need. Okay, sleuth, okay, it creates trace ID and span ID to find execution path details and store in temporary memory. Okay, so here until it collect from Zipkin, it will be storing here. Okay, that's in memory here. Okay, this actually sleuth is going to generate here. So what are the trace IDs generated? Okay, for this particular microservice, okay, this is trace ID generated and path details here. And from here also trace ID, span ID generated and details here. Like that, all the details generated by sleuth. So in every microservice, you need to add sleuth here. You need to add sleuth dependency at every microservice. Okay, once it is generated here, then finally, whatever the data that is actually generated that need to be copied. Okay, so there's data copying, there's a sampling will be taken and data will be shown at UI visualization. Okay, we can visualize at central tool here that is actually called Zipkin server. Zipkin server. Okay, sleuth will just generate the trace IDs and span IDs. Will store the complete execution path here. That's the details only. But from there, data will be collected by Zipkin client. Zipkin client says, okay, hey sleuth, can you give sample data here? What you collected? I'll take it here. Okay, Zipkin client also should be added in every microservice component. Okay, sleuth generates the details, client samples the details, means collects the details here. Okay, then it will be sent to a central server here, Zipkin server. There it will be showing all the details here, how many paths are executed, how many requests came. Okay, everything details will be shown here. Even you can filter the data here, filter based on the time. Okay, execution, that's actually time and date, at what date and time, okay, that request has come here based on the execution time. Okay, which one is taken more time here, 5 minutes time, 6 minute time here. And you can find out based on the trace IDs. If you know the trace ID, you can find here. So it supports some filters also here. Okay, this actually Zipkin server. Zipkin server is a central server. You need not to add in the microservice. This runs in a separate location. Okay, so by default, Zipkin client will connect it to Zipkin server and gather the data here. Okay, it's actually going to gather the data here. So sleuth generates the details. Zipkin client, okay, it collects data from Zipkin. There is a sleuth that is called sampling. Okay, it's actually called sampling here and sent to UI. There's Zipkin server. It's a Zipkin server. So what is Zipkin server here? It's a Zipkin server is a central server, a central server that will display all details of execution paths. Okay, so first and important thing, you need to download and run Zipkin server. Okay, you can just download and run Zipkin server. Multiple possibilities are there. I'm just giving a download link here. I'm just giving this Zipkin download link here. You can just click on this link and you can download. It will be download as a zip option. Once you click on this option here, it is download as a zip here, executable zip. Go to that location and extract here. Once you extract, there you will find one jar file. It's a Java jar file here, Zipkin server. Okay, this Zipkin server runs on port number 9411 here. Okay, go to the command location and execute the command java-jar Zipkin server. Okay, this is actually Zipkin server starting. That's fine. You can just find out the location where exactly it is running here. It's a 9411. You can just go to browser and press enter here. You can just take localhost. Okay, /Zipkin. This is a URL. You can find out by using service name. Okay, that's actually trace ID, span name, span ID. Okay, at what time it is actually, you can just check 3 hours back, 6 hours back request are customized. You can even search some years back also. Some years back also you can search here. Okay. So here, if it is stored already, then we can search. Of course, you must be running from there. Okay, or else based on the duration of the span and how many you want to see the limit here. Okay, sort longest first, shortest first, you can trace everything here. Okay, there is a latest UI given here, try lens UI. There also you can just check it here. Okay, so you can just go back to classic UI. Okay, this is a UI. I'm just stopping this one by pressing Control C, exit. If you want to see the execution, jar, execute this command. Okay, runs on a port number here. Download link for Zipkin server here. Okay. Download it as a zip file. You need to extract to a location. Okay, once it is done, run command java-jar. Go to browser and enter URL. Okay, so here you can just type the URL like this. You can just even take localhost. So this is Zipkin server setup here. Okay, so if you want to stop the process, just press Control C to stop the process here. Before running the microservices, you should have make sure that you have started Zipkin server. Okay, then only you can run your microservices. You can find out all the details. Okay, so let us write one basic application like this. Okay, the requirement, whenever I make a request, it has to execute multiple microservices. I want to know the log files printing order. Okay, and I have to find out the trace ID. Individual microservice span ID will be there. Trace ID generated for a request to response. Span ID generated for a particular microservice. Sleuth generates all these details. Zipkin client will collect the data. Zipkin server will display the data. By going to Zipkin server, you can find out all the details. Okay, so I'm writing one microservice application setup. This complete setup, once it is done, this coding part and notes, I'll post in my GitHub account. This is my GitHub account. This code example notes will be shared after 1 hour. You can just download from there. Just click on the repository and search with Zipkin and Sleuth, then you can find it. It's not there. After session completed, I'll post it. Okay. Now I'm just showing the coding part here. Eureka server, config server, those components, if you're interested, you can use. Not a issue. Just I'm setting the font. Okay. Creating multiple microservice applications here. That's the first stage I'm just doing here. Look at this. File, new, Spring Starter project here. There I'm writing here. Spring Cloud app 1. I'm just writing here like this. You can write it instead of like this, you can write something like authentication service, user service, order service also. Not a issue. Just concentrate on syntax and coding part mainly. There you can apply to a requirement event. Just updating the details here. Okay, one application I'm just creating here, microservice application. Next button. Okay, you need to add a web dependency here. Okay, you need to add Zipkin client and sleuth. Okay, there is no Zipkin server option you can find out. You can find out observability under the observability option. You can find out the sleuth and Zipkin client. Okay, Zipkin client, it's not server. Please check it. Okay, it's a Zipkin client. Next button and finish button. At least create two applications minimum to find out the path. Minimum create two applications. At most your wish. Okay, I'm just creating three applications here. Okay. First, you write a simple requirement. If you want, you can take it as a Eureka server, config server. I'm trying to keep this application in a simplified manner. It's just generating the application. Okay. So this application got created. That's fine. So first I'm opening properties file. There I'm writing the basic configuration here. Server.port here, 81. Spring.application.name. It's a sample app 1. Okay. Now you can mention one logging file details. Logging.file.name. Okay. I just recommend to store in a project location, or else you can take some external locations. Some D drive output location I'm just taking here. App1.log file I'm just creating here. Okay, that's fine. Next. So I am writing one Java configuration file here, app config. Okay. So if you want to make a request to one microservice to another microservice, you can use REST template, or you can use web client. Okay, you can just use Fin client also. Anything is fine, no issue. I'm using REST template here. REST template object, we need to configure. It won't come with a default configuration. I'm just writing bean here. This object create in Spring container. Next thing, okay, we have to enable, hey Zipkin client, you should be able to collect the data from Sleuth. Okay, no, I don't want to enable this. Just Sleuth, let it generate the data, I'll take it from console. Okay, I don't want this process like this. You can disable also. Okay, they're providing the possibility. Okay, there is a possibility given. So you can activate and deactivate such process here by using a type that is called sampler. Okay, so this is actually sampler object we have. We can write any bean name, that's not an issue here. Okay, sampling is actually collecting the data. Okay, what are the trace IDs and span IDs are there? Generated data will be collected by client here, and we are sending to Zipkin server here. Now, if you don't want this data to send to UI, okay, you want to stop this, don't delete the code. Just this always sampler internally creating the sampler object and setting to internally true. Yes, sample the data here. Okay, if you don't want to mention this, you can use never sampler. Okay, of course you can remove this bean also, but if you just want to change here, you can use never sampler too. Okay, that's actually not going to send the data to UI here. That's fine. Now I'm writing a class. It's app1 REST controller. Request mapping here. REST template architect. Okay, I'm just writing a simple method here. Show it. Now we are going to consider that this one is actually first application. It is actually going to print some log lines and makes call to another microservice here. There I'm writing one annotation here. It's a get mapping. Show you. Okay. So if you want to create a logger object here, you can create the logger object, private, static, final, logger. Log is equals to logger factory dot get logger. And you can pass this class name and dot class. If you don't want to write this line manually, we can add Lombok dependency and write one simple annotation here. Project Lombok Maven dependency we can use, but you have to activate this one, then only you can use. Directly we cannot use this one. You can even add directly from here. Right click, Spring add starter, Lombok, next button, pom.xml and finish button. Okay, in the pom.xml, you can see there is a dependency added here. It's a Lombok. Okay, then once you go to your REST controller, instead of creating a logger line like this, You can write one simple annotation here at the rate SLF first. Okay, that even generates same logger line. You can even cross check by expanding your class here. Is logger object created or not here? Okay, it's internally same kind of code here. By expanding this, you can check it. Okay, now I'm writing some log lines here. Log.info. Just I'm writing to welcome to service one. Okay, now we have to make a request to call rt.get for object. Of course, you can use entity. URL we have to mention here. Okay, consider we are going to have second microservice. Okay, that microservice details I'm just going to provide here. I'm just hard coding the details. You can take it from Eureka server even. Local host. This I have just taken 8081, right? I'm going to write the microservice second one on 82 with a URL like show b that we need to write now. We need to define that one here. It's giving some response. Okay, and just I'm writing it's a log.info. Okay, back to service one. Data is response. I'm just printing. Okay, here if you observe with the general microservice application, what is the additional thing that we have done here? Okay, we have added sleuth and Zipkin. Sleuth and Zipkin client dependencies one. Okay, and we just mentioned the log file name here two, and we created sampler object that activates the sleuth and Zipkin clients here that is going to generate the trace and span ID and collect and hand over to Zipkin server. Hand over to Zipkin server here. And we wrote one REST controller. Logger object is created here. Logger object is created, and just we are making request to next microservice here. Let us write one more microservice. Next button. Same web dependency, sleuth, Lombok, and Zipkin client. Lombok is to just generate the code. I'm just generating the logger object, else you can write manually, no issue. Next and finish. Here in the properties, add to app to app common. I'm just taking here. Okay. For first microservice, I'm just taking one log file. For second and third microservice, I'm just taking one common log file. Like all scenarios, I'm just showing here. Okay. And from there, here code app config is similar. Okay. You need not write again. I'm just doing copy paste. It's a configuration code. App config is similar. I'm writing one REST controller now. In the second application, writing one REST controller here. App to REST controller. Okay, this REST controller. Again, I'm just creating the logger object here. Use REST template. It's a show B. From show B, I'm just writing like this. It's a get mapping / show B. This is what we made a call previous application here. Info from service to Again, I'm making to third microservice. A request is made here. It's a get for entity or object. Object directly returns the value. No HTTP status, nothing required. Consider this time it is actually calling microservice 3 application here. Show C. Expected response is actually string.class. Back to service 2. Message is comma response. And response. Okay. So here app1 REST control is actually calling app2 and that's executing show B and it is calling again third one. If you look at here, this is running on 82 port number. You can give any port number, that's not an issue. It's actually service 2. Now I'm writing one more application. Next button, same dependencies. App.properties. I just do copy from here and paste it. App3 83, but log file name I'm just keeping same. Log file name is actually common. Okay, this is not a new one here. For 2 microservices, I'm just taking same log file name here. Okay, and even we have to copy this app config. Okay, this time REST template is not required. If you want, you can keep it. I don't want to make call to any other REST controller here. Creating a REST controller now. REST controller. Now creating the logger object here. Okay. Now there I'm just printing some simple message here. Show C. Just printing the log lines. Info, error, warning, fatal. You can print whatever you want. Write some logics and try catch blocks also. From service 3. Okay. You can write logic to do some transactions and all here. Buy from service 3 like this and that. Okay, no network call I'm just making here. That's it, keeping simple here. Okay, if you observe properly, here dependencies in app3 also, Zipkin client and sleuth dependencies, Lombok to generate the SLFRJ dependent and web dependence to run application here. Okay, this is fine. So these are 3 applications I created here. Common things. What are the common things in the coding part here? Okay, adding sleuth and Zipkin client. Creating sampler object. Creating sampler object. Making network call. Okay, making HTTP call to another microservice, next microservice. Okay, so this one you can identify here. This is a code sample. I'll post in the GitHub. You can just see one application. If you observe, almost all are similar here. This is a sampler object. If you don't want to activate this process, simply just instead of using always sampler, use never sample. Instead of using always sample, use never sample. That's fine. A simple REST controller, it's calling to show A to show B 8082. It will go to second application. It's working on 8082 with a show B. It's calling with a show C, the 8083. It's going to application 3 here. Okay, and I gave common log file name for second and third applications. Okay, we'll run these applications. Before this, okay, before going to run these applications, first I am going to start Zipkin server, which I just downloaded and configured now. Okay, just downloaded here. Go to this command location, java-jar Zipkin server executable. It's done. Go to browser, type localhost 9411 and press enter. Okay, you can try Lens UI or come back to classic UI. That's fine here. Find trace 0. Result is 0. Miss so far nothing we got. Now let us start our microservice applications here, or simple REST applications what we created. Distributed applications they must be. You can use Eureka server, config server, everything is fine here. Okay, application started here. Second application we are running. Control F11 is a shortcut. And third application. Okay, 3 applications are started. Now I'm just making request to first microservice so that it is actually going to call all other microservice in the order. Okay, if you look at the URL of first microservice here, go to REST controller. It's a show A. Run Zipkin server. Start all microservice applications. Execute first microservice or any, of course. Slash show. I'm just taking like this. Okay, going to browser and executing this one. We got done. That is fine. And if you look at here, there are multiple log files. Of course, 2 log files are printed here. App common and app log 1. You can open with edit plus here. Okay, some log lines are showing here. Which one is starting and which one is ending, I'm unable to find. Okay, you can just see here. Edit plus. Here also second log file is there. Now, once you make the request, come back and click on find traces. It is showing the result showing 1 of 1. You can just keep 1 hour back, 5 hours back, like that even. Okay, if you look at here, there is 5 spans are created here. Okay, first request came to microservice 1. Okay, from there, next it is making second to microservice 2. Then it's actually going to microservice 3 and executing some logic, coming back to 2, executing some logic and coming back here, and finally giving some response. Okay, here. So it is actually splitting. Okay, first one, it started the flow. So if you look at here, it's actually executing sample app 1. There is a get request executed for show A. Okay, you can go there and find out show A is mapped with what. By using actuator mappings concept you can use. Okay, there you can find out which control and which method executed. This execution path started. Then after some time, okay, after this many milliseconds here, you can see it is showing. Then it is actually moving to show B. Okay, this actually request after this many milliseconds went to here and started executing of show B here, where show B is actually defined in sample app 2. This is second microservice name. Okay, then it is actually after few milliseconds is actually calling show C, then come back, then coming back and coming back to show B and calling show A here. Okay, these are the timelines. Okay, this is the execution order. You can see here. How many spans created? Total 3 spans created here. Depth 3. Okay, means 3 internal calls are made here. 3 services are called here. If multiple methods called, you may see depth some 4, 5 like that here. Okay, you can check in the new UI even. Try Lens UI. There also you can see. Okay, in a clear information in the latest UI, which HTTP method is called? Get method. What is the path? What is the class name? You can find out here. And what is the method name here? Client address. Okay, it is actually finding all the details here. Okay, in the latest one, minimize, maximize to click. In the latest UI here. Okay, you can even search based on the hours. Okay, if you have longest first, shortest first, that's also you can see even. Okay, and if you have some trace IDs, there also you can search here. That's fine. Okay, these are the UIs. So you can just try Lens UI is there. This is a new one. You can even try this. Okay, find all the traces here. Okay, based on the span IDs, minimum duration, all you can find out. Just click on this one here and look at. Now click on this particular path. There you can see the details here. Okay, show IDs. We can see trace ID and span ID. There is one more thing, it is showing parent ID. Okay, so here one span ID can be same like a trace ID also for starting to identify the starting span ID. Okay, it's a trace ID. Look at, there is a trace ID. You can copy this trace ID, go to the log files, and search here. Okay, how many lines are printed for current request? We can find out. Okay, from sample app 1, this is the project name, trace ID, span ID, and you can see the message. Okay, welcome to service 1 here. Now go to another log file here. Second log file, searching with the same trace ID, you can find out the lines printed here. Sample app 2 here and 3, this is a trace ID. By using the trace IDs, you can see the log lines. Welcome to service 2 from service 3. Of course, this is console oriented actual lines. It's not good. Okay, next, what is the next thing we are going to see here? I'll show that. That's fine. Okay, you can take particular span ID also, and you can go there and search it. Click on that one. You can take the span ID, go there and search it. It's not available here. Go to second log file and search it. Yes, it is available here. These are the 2 lines printed for the particular microservice here. You can see here. It is showing some lines. Okay, by using trace ID and span ID. Okay, so here trace ID, unique number generated to find full details for a request. Okay, including all microservices executed in order. Okay, where span ID to find only one microservice execution details. There's a trace details you can see here. But one more thing is their parent ID. Okay, for this microservice, we have trace ID. Okay, this is span ID 1. Okay, this is span ID 2. This is span ID 2 here. Okay, and this is span ID 3. Look at here. 3 individual span IDs are created here. Okay, so for this microservice 2, there was a microservice before. Okay, there is a span ID. Before to microservice 2, there was a span. Before to microservice 3, there was a span. But before microservice 1, there is no span. Okay, so that is actually when you see a particular microservice trace ID and span ID, and if you don't see any parent ID, that is only entry microservice. That is only executed first in a simple order here. There is no parent for this. For the current microservice, from where it has got the call, the The previous microservice, what exactly made call here? That previous microservice span ID will be current microservice parent ID, just for linking purpose here. Okay, so if you go to M3, M3 span ID is here. Previous microservice span ID will be parent ID, just for linking purpose here. Okay, internal linking here. See this span ID. Okay, this actually you can see it's a show a method here. Okay, you can go to show b here. Okay, so copy this span ID here. You can go to show c here and you can search. It's a parent ID here. Previous microservice span ID is a current microservice parent ID, just for linking. Here there is no parent ID. Parent ID is actually nothing, none, because that is only entry. Previous microservice span ID will be current microservice parent ID here. Parent ID. Current microservice parent ID is taken from previous microservice span ID. Okay, that is fine. Okay, we can check all the execution paths here. Look at, so what is the benefit of this distributed tracing? Okay, observe, finding the execution paths is the first thing. So it is actually coming here, first calling show A, then calling show B, calling show C, like this. Okay, first one. Second, time taken for a particular microservice. You can check here, they're already showing here total duration, how many milliseconds. Individual milliseconds you can count even. Okay, you can just find out all the details here. Okay, so at what time request came, at what time request lived here. Okay, there's actually details here. And next, helps to find the log lines order. But we have console based. This okay, we can find it's a console based, it's not over. Okay, what is the next thing? We have to continue through distributed tracing here. This is not over. In the real time, along with this one, okay, so here log files generated. This is a log file 1 generated here. Something like a.log. This is we used common.log. Okay, one common log file used for both microservices, or individual files also you can use. I'm just covering the scenario. Now, whatever the log files generated, these log files data also you have to gather it. This only printing the details, path details, execution order, and the IDs it is actually printing, but it's not showing any log lines data. Zipkin server will never display what are the log lines printed. Those details, if you want to find out, here we need to use, okay, there's actually log aggregator tools. One of the tool is actually ELK. Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Of course, you might be using different kind of tools in the companies. Okay, for that, I'm just giving a reference link also. Already, I have taken ELK before. You can go to this one here, ELK Raghu. I'm just searching. This is Spring Boot ELK integration video. I'm just giving in the chart. Okay, giving this link in the notes also. Or else you can go to YouTube/NareshIT. Okay, youtube.com/NareshIT, and you can search with my name and concept name. Okay, once you go to youtube.com/NareshIT, okay, there you search with my name and concept name, you can find out that. Okay, so this is overview about distributed tracing here. Okay, that is actually finding the details, execution paths and orders here. Okay, this code, this notes and this diagram, okay, I'll upload in this GitHub location. Okay, are you getting any doubts here? You can send an email to me here, java-by-raghu@gmail.com. Okay, even you can find the latest updates in my Facebook group also, groups/the Java Temple, for all the new batches and latest updates here, the Java Temple. Thank you for session. We'll meet in another session next time.